I find it fascinating how even when a game is good and the market enjoys the game, journalists refuse to actually talk about the game, right? The mechanics, the story, what player interaction or, visuals. So they have to talk about, and even if they have nothing else, it's like they can't throw racismus at this game. They can't throw transphobia at the game. They can't throw any of these terms at Palworld because it's such a simplistic ass game. But they also can't say anything good about it, right? It's like Palworld isn't good enough or bad enough to warrant us losing our collective minds over it. Like, collective minds. No one really speaks like that in reality. Like, is this really how they view their audience? And the people they talk to, they view them as like ants to sort of, flow the hate towards, say, Hogwarts Legacy. It's like you're supposed to hate this game, whatever. Oh, but add the sex scene in The Last of Us 2, you're supposed to love that. And people's collective minds gravitate towards that. Like, do they not believe people have different interests and different things they care about? Like, do they believe everyone's like a hive mind? I mean, when people run in circles, it's a very, very power world. Like, why I don't understand what they're trying to convey here. So I read a little bit into this, and I'm like, well, I'm probably not gonna do this. It's probably just nothing burger. But there are things in here that I think are of value. Sometimes a game will make a way into the public spotlight, not because it's good, innovative, or bad, but simply just because it is. It captures a specific moment and gets a bunch of attention at a specific point of time. A small moon that casts a big shadow like a solar eclipse. Palworld is one of those games. I mean, yeah. At first, people were pissy because they made a statement about their game about how it was just 50 dudes who put in 10 grand and now have a budget of like millions of dollars. Like these 50 dudes are now millionaires because the game's successful, right? And people got pissy because you got the Nintendo cucks who are like, "Oh, Nintendo strike this down," which boggles my mind. Like, why? I'm a Nintendo fan, right? But I don't shill for the company. Like, I'm not the PR arm of the company. They don't pay me anything. So I'm not going to defend them. And one, I have personal grievances with Game Freak. So a game like this comes out that proves, the old Nintendo Pokemon strat is kind of run its course, but the whole Palmon or like it's a whole genre. You had Digimon, you had like Monster Quest, you have all these other things that encapsulate this genre. So this isn't new, but Palworld shows that it's not exactly old either. It's not something you cannot innovate or cannot do anything with. And then people got mad because, oh, well, the developers are interested in AI. Not that they used AI in the game, is that they interested in AI and believe AI is a good thing. So then people throw that whole controversy in there. And then it's, PETA flipping shit like, oh, it's animals fighting other animals. And, well, PETA has its own things that I'll probably talk about in another video. So yeah, a lot of people they tried to shit on this game. They tried to suppress it, but more people got into it because of it. And I do believe it's the Streisand effect. When you try to suppress something, it just gets even more, known. Yeah, but then and again, they weren't flipping shit when this game was previewed 3 years ago, right? It's surprising it's only now that the flipping ship, and by they I mean the people on Twitter, the journalists, the people that for some reason hate when the little guy pulls himself up by the bootstraps and actually make it big, like they did with the creator, the Coffin of Andy and Lele, right? A single person who became a millionaire overnight. Now they're doing it with these people. It shows that even if you're small, even if you're tiny, even if you have a small contained idea, you can still make it big. And for some reason, they hate this. Like, they hate this idea. They hate the fact that and by they, I mean the journalists, they hate that the journalists didn't make this shit popular. They hate that it was just the people, the market deciding that this game was popular and that they were going to put their money towards this game. So yeah, I do believe a culmination of these things end up making this game popular. I mean, is like people. There are people who will buy a game out of spite, and I don't agree with this idea. But I'm not. But I 100% accept the fact that that's what people want to do, and they can definitely make that decision. But I do believe in this case it was a very tiny fringe amount of people. I think people just bought it because it's just an interesting concept. You know, Pokemon with guns. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, is it edgy? No. It's not like South Park edgy. It's not like entirely violent. I mean, there's not blood or gore or anything. Barely any customization, but it is what it is. Arriving at the height of anti-Pokemon sentiment, or at least the mirage of such, I don't play Pokemon, and I know that people complaining online is different from reality. Palworld has ticked some specific boxes, which I think have launched it into the stratosphere. It's a somewhat edgy. Again, there's nothing edgy about the game. Yes, you can gun down fucking pals or the fucking animals, but that doesn't make it edgy. I mean, edgy is like throwing a slur out there, throwing sexist jokes. Again, today's form of edgy is completely different because there like you can be edgy, but there's certain things you're not allowed to say, and it's like, okay, so it's not edgy, you know. Edgy is, you know, societally frowned upon things, you know. So again, it's like South Park or like Beavis and Butthead, things that we're all thinking, but you're not allowed to say because you'll piss people off, like Tosh.0. That's edgy. This is not edgy. This is not what I grew up. This is basic bitch compared to what I grew up with. Competent. Okay, that's probably the one good thing. Competent. Yeah, it's a competent survival game with a core concept just dumb enough to be streamable. I don't mean dumb as in an insult here. In fact, it's a compliment. I mean, sure, I can pretend that I'm not some bastion of fine taste. All I like of fine taste, all I like, but I cannot deny the allure of blowing bad guys up with a chicken's explosive eggs. I mean, again, it's just an out there concept that ended up grabbing people's attention. And that's a good thing, right? It means creativity is still in the works. Again, this isn't anything new, right? I guess it's probably innovative, but again, I played Arc. I played Pokemon Arceus. It's pretty much both of these concepts thrown together. Like, and the survival, again, is also highly customizable, so you can pretty much affect anything from capture rate to stamina drain to build time. I mean, I didn't fuck with any of that when I played, but you can customize your experience, and you can play with other people and customize the experience with them. My whole thing is for Xbox Game Pass, they have a completely different version than on Steam. So I can play with my Steam buds, but I can't play with my Xbox buds because Steam gets updates faster, right? I think like a week ago I was on version 0.1.3.0 and I'm on 0.1.4.0. So that's the one complaint, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you have a Game Pass, you can get it for free. But you know, I'm the type of pussy. I'm the type of person that puts my money where my mouth is. If it is a good game, I will pay full price for it if it is good. As PC Gamer's own Rich Staten, uh, as PC Gamer's own Rich Staten puts out, it's a game that prompts sheer fun, but depending on who you are, that's either all games are required to be or difference to an antichrist of gaming, one of which tolls the bell for a game apocalypse of AI generated slop. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I feel the need to take a deep breath and say I don't think Palworld itself is worth the energy, for good or for ill. Again, they're throwing around the AI generated argument because Steam will ban games that have AI in it unless it's a multi-billion-dollar game that makes the money, or I guess unless you know a person. Again, it's such an odd system where certain things pass even though it breaks the rules, but others don't. Like hentai games, right? You'll have hentai games that just barely pass, but still make it on, and you'll have hentai games that are just basic bitch, but they don't. I mean, you would think if they applied the rule equally, that it wouldn't be a problem. But think of it this way: you're a developer and you're putting what 20, 30, 40 grand, 2, 3, 4 years in a project, only to have Steam slap it down. It's like, well, you can sell it to other places, right? But Steam is the most accessible place to put your game, right? Unless, I don't know, Epic throws millions of dollars at you to sell it on their platform for a year. But again, that's usually with mainstream games or games that pay the nepotism toll. Right, that's not every game. So again, you want to put your game. It is advantageous for you to put your game in the place where it is the most accessible, the most seen. You know, has the most amount of clout. I mean, that's just basic bitch knowledge. And again, the AI generated argument, again, they're just holding this in the pocket, right? Because they know this, if that this is the case, it could get the game banned. First up, let's take a look at AI generated Cafent in the room. Palworld is a derivative game from a design perspective and a visual one. Design wise, a base building survival crafting game. We all know how many of these there are. Visibly, there's the whole Pokemon thing. This has resulted in a swarm of pointed fingers with accusations of AI art, and even directly ripping models from Pokemon games. At the time of writing these claims are unverified. I mean, again, whole AI art thing is sort of the new moral panic because obviously, like all things that are new and innovative, you have people who are who are just, it's like they have the caveman conservative mindset that, oh, thing is new, therefore we should stop thing from happening. And it's like, why? You know, I understand AI art has implications and can be abused and can be used for bad, but I also believe it could be used for good. Like, nothing's inherently evil or good, it depends on who's using it. But in this case, the moral panic is if you have any type of AI art or any type of AI sentiment used for any reason, even if it's referential, you're a bad. Like, you're a bad dude. Like, even people who share AI art online gets lambasted by people. And they're just sharing a picture that looks cool. Like, I see it all the time on Facebook. People sharing AI art and people getting mad. Because they're just, again, like the title of this game is, like the title of this journal is suggesting, their collective minds are now thrusted against AI art. So, and then and people are just built the way that, oh, if the mainstream media of journalists are after this thing, I must be mad at this thing too. To be perfectly clear, I do not think it matters whether or not Palworld uses AI. Yes, you do. And to what extent, considering the CEO of Pocket Payers' past fascination with the tech, it's a totally understandable gut reaction. It's one I have even shared to an extent. At present, though, it's just that, a gut reaction, a feeling, a vibe. Again, but you don't make articles based on this, right? You're a fucking journalist, right? That's just not how you build your arguments based on a feeling, or at least you don't build your entire argument based on a gut feeling, right? Because everyone runs on a gut feeling, but however much of that controls your actions is what really matters. Like, my gut feeling is, yeah, AI might be used for evil, but again, I see a vast amount of good things that'll come from AI art. Like, again, people who have absolutely no creativity and no idea how to draw now has that entryway into putting out their creative talent and their creative vision into the world through AI art generation. Even if it's just referential, even if they generate the art and go to an artist and be like, draw something similar to this, right? I see that as a good thing, right? I think the fear of what Palworld might represent is linked to a wider industry context. In 2023, the year of catastrophic layoffs, and 2024 was already had rotten start with a huge sweeping reduction at Blizzard and Riot. None of these fears of AI are asset flips or unreasonable, but I can't help but question rather this particular $30 early access game is the big fish to fry. I mean, it is because they made millions of dollars off of it. That's why we're even on this controversy. A couple, like, in the age of massive layoffs on multi-billion-dollar companies, firing hundreds of thousands of, well, not hundreds of thousands, like hundreds and thousands of people. You have a group of 50 dudes in their mom's basement making millions of dollars off this product. And I do believe it's the Baldur's Gate 3 thing where they've risen the standard of what game companies are supposed to put out. Like, this, yeah, that will happen. Like, standards are always rising, standards are always changing. I think that this game sets the bar. Like, even if this game uses 100% assets from fucking Unity, free assets, it's still a good fucking game. It proves that even if your game is lazily slapped together, creative vision really takes the helm in this one. And people see that creative vision and enjoy the game because of that creative vision. Not because you're a multi-billion-dollar company putting millions of dollars in to make a single game that's yet another remake, remaster, prequel, sequel in a genre that at one point was world renowned, and now you're just wearing the IP like a skin suit and assuming people are just gonna buy into it because it's the IP, right? And that's the problem with Star Wars. The people that are at the helm have no creative vision for Star Wars. They just inherit an IP that they don't even like, and they're forced to put something out, but people are just turning away. Does Palworld actually represent a corporate boot currently kicking talent out of the industry in favor of machine learning? I don't know if it does. I don't know what Does Palworld actually represent a corporate boot currently kicking talent out of industry in favor of machine learning? What? Question mark? Oh, it's a question. That's just an odd question. Like, I mean, industries are kicking talent, at least in the entertainment industry, they're kicking talent out because, one, the market's moving away. Like, they assumed that over COVID that they would have this generative boost in revenue. And it's like, maybe at the time they did, but that doesn't really carry over to long term because now people are going back to work, and don't forget Western entertainment is butting heads with anime, Japanese entertainment that actually puts out products people want to see. So people are turning away, people are watching anime like a fucking normal person. And now they find out that, oh, this unsustainable growth cannot, sustain us. So we have to fire people. And amongst other things, right? You know, they hire based off social justice, aka nepotism. So they hire their friends. They hire the guy with connections. They hire 50 HR ladies just to look over the one person actually doing the work. It's a whole Twitter situation. And again, you have this game that was only put together by 50. I mean, it just proves that you don't need to be a bloated multi-billion-dollar corporation to put out a good product. Right? So he said one good thing and one maybe somewhat good thing. Like he used the word dumb but said as a compliment. It's like, okay, I guess that's a half compliment because when most people think of the word dumb, they don't think of it in a good context. I don't know if it does. For starters, it's an independent studio, although its past and future projects are cynical, Craftopia AI art imposter, and the upcoming totally not Hollow Knight Metrovania Nevergrave. The Witch and the Curse is on the way. Pocket Pair mimics corporate trend chasing to the same extent with its mimic design elements in games. That is to say a lot. I mean, you don't understand copyright. According to copyright, if it's transformative, the fuck does it matter? I mean, I understand. It's bad. You probably don't like that, right? Like people see a copycat from a mile away. That's why you have so many fucking like Star Wars clones that came out when Star Wars was popular. Like so many fucking like when I grew up, the whole Walking Dead was popular. So you had so many Walking Dead clones, like zombie clones, just zombies in general popping up. Well, beforehand it was, I guess, futuristic bullshit, Star Wars bullshit. Like people see parallels in creative decisions, but they're allowed to exist because of copyright. It's in the name. It's not do not copy at all, or it's not copy very little. It's copyright. So I don't really understand why this is the issue. If it's true that Palworld used AI, you could also argue that its success will set an example that creates dangerous industry trend. Why? Why is it a dangerous industry trend? Like, again, a couple of dudes who probably don't even know how to make a game has a tool that allows them to make a game. Like, they probably have one coder who they throw $2,000 at. I mean, how? Like, is it a dangerous industry standard in the case that you actually have to start being creative for once? You can't just wear an IP like a skin suit and just exist and sucking in like investor money and shit on the consumer. You actually have to be creative for once. Is that the dangerous industry trend? I mean, I have my concessions with AI, despite thinking it's overall a good thing. But I don't understand why the tool itself is a bad thing. I understand how the tool can be used for bad, but again, the problem is in AI. Like there are bigger, like you said, there are bigger fish to fry than this game. I feel those trends are already to the detriment of everybody. How is it to the detriment of everybody? If it's a fucking game that people like and people enjoy, and people are willing to pay $30 for early access to play, dumping hundreds of hours, how is it a detriment to everybody? Potentially happening to much larger studios with a far bigger say in what becomes the normalized industry standard. Again, multi-billion-dollar companies are obviously going to use AI, right? And I think for these companies should absolutely be uh, a problem because again, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. You know, you can't just hire talent. You can hire some of the best artists that are better than AI. You know, that are just better than AI generated. But I mean, I just don't understand how it's a detriment for everybody. If again, in Palworld case, even if assuming it has AI, it's still a good game and people enjoy the game, and that's all that really matters if you're putting out a product. Palworld distinctively bootleg vibes also calls into question its artistic integrity. Brother, it's Pokemon with guns. It's like what more? People know this. People knew this 3 years ago when no one was saying a damn thing. It's only after the game got fucking popular people starting to care. To be clear, I don't think the game has taken, let's call it, hefty inspiration from existing Pokemon design. Even if it did, what's the why? Why is that a problem? People like the game. And while I don't think it's some innocent homage, I do think Palworld's characters are substantially. Sorry, my eyes are drying out. I can't see. Different enough to just be uncomfortably similar or parody rather than overt plagiarism. Plagiarism. Again, you're using terms that are just not applicable. Like, I know there was a mod that turned them into Pokemon, and that got slapped immediately by Nintendo. Like, they called the fucking Suicide Squad after them. They blasted that shit. But again, this game is transformative enough to where it passes. But does artistic integrity matter when the game is a decent fun? It is not just decent fun, it is very fun. Look, again, I thought this game was a scam. I was 100% prepared to have paid into a scam. So, in anything other than that, like, far exceeds my expectation. But for the game to actually legitimately be good and addictive and fun, like, again, I'm iffy with early access titles, but with this one, I think I've bought like what 3 other early access games. Oh, it's probably more than that because I had Xbox, and still like, and it being an early access and it's still a good game. I don't really. Again, they can just say the game is good. They can just argue the mechanics and not just the face. Like they look at the cover of the game and be like, "Oh, I guess it's this." But does artistic integrity matter when the game is decent fun? Well, yes. But also, no. I'm being very helpful today. Yeah, you're being very wishy-washy. Just not. You can just admit that. Oh, people like the game. The game is good. You have fun, and just leave it at that. But I guess you're forced to make an article full of just nothing but words. Like I had never heard someone who say so many fucking words but mean so little. Oh my god, and it just keeps going. Yeah, no, I'm not reading all that. Do they have comments? See comments. Lol, the reporting from PC Game on this game is outrageous. First, we get if this is the whole novel, I'm gonna throw hands. First, we get that nonsense article about animal cruelty, followed up by several other articles. Wait, the animal cruelty one came out before this? Well, now I know what my next video is going to be. Article trying to convince us that we shouldn't be enjoying the game as much as we are, all the while posting countless guide articles in an attempt to profit from the game's success, which you seem to resent. Yeah, it's a bad game. That may be so, but if PC Game believes that, then give it a bad review and move on, instead of trying to gaslight those who enjoy it. A fucking man. I think they're allowed to say it's bad. But that's the thing, they don't say it's bad. They jump from, oh, well, I guess it's okay, but it's not. But it could be this, but it could be that. They don't say anything in this article. They just bounce the line. They're like, oh, well, it could use AI, but people like it, but it could be plagiarism, They have in several articles, and often their reason is petty. Well, no, because it's a bad game. I think their reason is solid. But that's not what they say, Lit. That's not what they said. They don't say the game's bad. Man's throwing hands with a fucking straw man that doesn't exist. Okay, if it's just these two dudes throwing hands, I don't care. What the fuck type of ostensibly smart gamers don't know how to engage, don't know how engagement works? Example, what? Is this how many people that play the game annually? I mean, that's good. That's a good number for concurring players for a game like this. Okay, they're just really arguing the article. Like, my dude here is fucking throwing hands with everyone. And I agree with him. Like, PC Games has this bad habit of mass producing articles, but I think the article for me doesn't matter. It's the content and the arguments that I try to take from this. I'm not particularly interested in Palworld myself, but I like the random games like that appear out of nowhere from time to time and become huge hits on PC. I mean, yeah, again, and it's the fact that it's the little guy that that gets propped up because they actually put out a product people want to see. Like this should be happening more, right? But it's not. On console, the monthly top tens are much more. Some as it ever was. What? Same as it ever was. Of how much it makes the analysts from AAA corporations go crazy with how unpredictable the game industry is on PC. Absolutely. Like, you get a couple of good, actual decent bangers a year that changes, you know, the scope and changes the bar for the industry. And AAA companies hate this, right? They want to put out the cheapest product possible, the laziest and cheapest product possible, and get money. But then games like Palworld comes out, which forces them to rethink what they want. Games like Baldur's Gate and The Coffin of Andy and Lele, games that the market genuinely want to see, And again, people on Twitter, like, you swear they're like the PR arm of the company. And again, by people on Twitter, I mean the people who go after Hogwarts Legacy, the coffin of Andy and Lele, the people with pronouns in the bio, and all sorts of mental illnesses and the blue hair. Again, I'm very bigoted. I'm gonna lump all these people together, right? If you have a problem with Palworld, like, I'm lumping you in this configury. I mean, and the game has its concessions. It is very buggy. It is very annoying. You know, like, they just made an update that changed where you can produce certain things. Like, because again, it's a progression type survival game, so you can make a thing, but then there's a better version of the thing that you have to make on a higher level. And for me, they changed a thing that you can make from the previous thing to the later thing. And I was crafting that thing for the previous thing, and it just went goodbye. It went away. Because the game's like, no, you can't do that. It's like, bruh. I mean, that's all I gotta say about this. This article, I don't know why they can't just say why the game's good, or they don't really say anything in this article. I think the game's good, and I'll see you later. Peace.